I'll just read it for us. But we'll start with our land and enslaved laborers acknowledgement. So we wish to acknowledge that the University of Virginia sits on the homeland of the Monacan Nation, whose members remain a vital part of the local community, and that UVA's original structures were built and maintained by enslaved laborers. We further wish to acknowledge the history of violence, displacement, and racism that led to UVA's establishment and maintenance. It is important for us as the university community to reflect and address the complicated past and present of our university during our time here as students. A special thanks to the Native American Student Union at UVA and Multicultural Student Services for helping to write this land acknowledgement. I'll also be putting in the chat a website that will allow you to check the land that you currently occupy.
Thank you, Booker. Good evening, everybody. It's nice to see you. Welcome to our first general body meeting of the fall 2021 semester. Obviously, we had hoped to have seen everybody in person, but with any luck, we'll be able to do that next week. Unfortunately, there was just a direct COVID exposure on execs. We wanted to play it safe and make sure that everyone takes care of themselves. So my name is Abel Liu. I use he, him pronouns. I am a fourth year studying economics and sociology, and I will be serving as the president of student council this year. If there are any members of the public, it's really nice to see you. If it's just internal, good to see you again. So I have a few updates based on what I've been up to for the past week. Last Thursday, I met with President Ryan and Provost McGill. The two main things we talked about were asymptomatic testing options and our support and access services. On asymptomatic testing, I just want to call everyone's attention to this website where you can book a prevalence test for free if you are asymptomatic. And then I wanted to share a resource that our Chief of SAS, Adrian Mommeril, sent on direct exposure guidance. I'll also send that out in our newsletter, but hopefully that's helpful in the meantime. And then on the support and access services more generally, I think there will be some traction around fundraising for the services based on President Ryan's interest. And I'd like to just give a big shout out to Adrian and the whole SAS team for giving us a compelling set of services to pitch that high up so quickly and this early in the semester. On Friday, I'm going to be meeting with the new Vice President for Student Affairs, Robin Hadley, with the Asian Student Union and Asian Leaders Council on a number of student demands around academics, a student center, as well as racially informed and competent counseling at the Women's Center and in CAPS. I am also beginning to open conversations with Lyle Sola Yates, who is on the Charlottesville Planning Commission. And he and I will be working alongside Ryan Alcorn, our Chief of Cabinet, and our fantastic directors from community engagement to incorporate tenants' rights, and in particular student tenants' rights, into the Charlottesville Comprehensive Plan, which has been in the works for many years. But we happen to be coming in at the exact time when they are beginning to take feedback before they take a vote on the plan, hopefully within the next year. So we have a really great window of opportunity to make sure that students have fair housing terms, and this will benefit the residents of Charlottesville as well. So that's a great initiative. Very excited about that. Finally, in terms of updates from the last week, I just wanted to mention some information I received from Student Financial Services on the Aetna insurance grants from the American Rescue Plan Higher Education Relief Funding. So as a bit of background, Student Financial Services, or SFS, set aside about $1 million to cover students who are on out-of-state Medicaid or otherwise low income, usually defined as students who would qualify for the Pell Grant in SFS's eyes, who are also uninsured. And so rather than having that group of students take out a loan of roughly $3,000 to pay for their Aetna insurance grants this year, we will be using federal funding to cover those students' insurance payments in full. Students should have received a notification from Student Financial Services as of this morning. If you submitted your insurance hard waiver within the last 12 hours, then you will be in a later wave of students who will be notified. But at this point, you should have been notified that you qualify for an insurance grant, and you should receive that payment within the next month. And I'll also include that in our newsletter. But if you have any questions, feel free to email or text me. I'll put my number in the chat. But I know I have heard from some of the members of our general body about this, as well as a number of students outside of STEDCO. And then I've asked exec to share out the top 3 policy goals that they are excited to work on this year, just to kick things off. So my 3 would be University Networks of Care pilot program, which is setting up a police-free crisis intervention program that will ultimately serve as a strategy to divest from UPD and invest in networks of community care around counseling or meeting other essential student needs. The second policy that I'm really excited about, or thing that I'm excited to be working on, is institutionalizing our support and access services, both within the university and within student council through a capital campaign, but creating long-term sustainable solutions to offering insurance, mental health care, disability accommodation, certifications, so on and so forth. And then the third thing that I personally am really excited to be working on is open housing. Right now, there is only a gender binary within the housing and residence life designation system. And so the open housing options are limited. And I'm excited to work with the Queer Student Union to take a stab at fixing that. Cece, you can go ahead now.
Hi all, my name is Cece. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the Vice President for Administration for this year's Student Council. So my biggest update is that our general membership application is out right now. You can find it in all of our social media bios, as well as on our website. So definitely look at that, send it out to people who you think, like groups of people who you think would be like good in student council, or if you know a lot of first years. So it's open now and it closes at the end of the day on September 7th. If anyone needs like accommodations or has questions about it, definitely send them my way or have them contact our directors of membership. And decisions will come out on September 15th. So leadership will get a lot more information this week about what that process is going to look like. So I'm really excited for that and to have like a full general membership coming up really soon at the end of this month. So yeah, and my three of my top policies that I'll shout out right now. Thank you, Abel, for linking the application in the chat. We have started the process of working on participatory budgeting, which means that like CIOs and other stakeholders within the university will get to directly vote on a large sum of money and how we use it to fund projects within the university community. I'm really excited to introduce that and to engage like a lot of other groups outside of student council. I'm also, similarly to Abel, excited to institutionalize our support and access services branch, which houses like food pantry, mutual aid, all of those really incredible services. We're going to start fundraising and also using our expanding our alumni network to start fundraising for that really soon. So I'm looking forward to that. And the third thing is we're undergoing like a research project to recontextualize our student council history. And one of the things we're starting with is going to the Minority Rights Coalition's Memory Mondays, where people specifically in like minority groups within the university are giving like the oral history of their kind of like group. So I'm super excited to start going to those and to go to those every Monday. I will pass it to Ryan Shostakowski.
Hi everyone, I'm Ryan C. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm the Vice President for Organizations, and I'm a third-year student studying public policy and leadership and economics. I guess just a few updates that I have. The first thing is that the Newcomb storage space applications for the 2021 school year are closing tomorrow at 11:59 p.m. CIO should have gotten an email with all this information, and I'll also be sending a reminder tonight. But I guess just like reiterate, like any CIO or organization, like special status organization that wants the space should apply, even if they've had it in the past. I'll put the link in the chat once I finish. Another thing is that our SAF Rolling Round 1 has started. CIO should also have received an email about this, and submissions are going to be due on September 8th. We did have to push it back a week because of a little bit of understaffing right now. So that's kind of why it's coming a little bit later than normal, but we plan on proceeding as normal for the rest of the year. The organization catalog, as part of like the fair, that will be finished by the end of this week and released. And last thing, the CIO application window will be open on September 12th and close on October 16th. And actually, we still need to work out the details a little bit because the application has been moved to who's involved this year instead of at UVA, which is kind of weird because the funding requests for the SAF funding rounds are still on at UVA, but the CIO application will be on who's involved. And I'm meeting with student engagement on Thursday to work up the details, and we'll have those out shortly. Other than that, I guess my three things I'm excited to work on this year, working with Equity and Incentives Committee to kind of help, and like with the other committees as well, to help expand like the accessibility of our resources for CIOs, make the processes more transparent and clear for organizations, because right now I think they're a little messy and tricky to navigate, particularly for groups that maybe don't have like a lot of like history like using these processes or are kind of new to them. Another thing too is just finding ways to like leverage our resources in ways that will, I guess, assist traditionally under-supported groups, such as, you know, possibly using SAF to like encourage students to attend like anti-discrimination trainings, kind of working that out. And then the last thing is, this is more of an internal facing thing, but I actually think over the summer it's proven to be really important, is just building like institutional memory and an effective and like consistent membership base within the org branch, and really like revamping how we bring members in and train those members, because I think in the past, like not having that has kind of hindered our ability to enact the needed changes that we want to, because we have to kind of like reset every year. So yeah, I'll pass it off to Gabby.
Hey everybody, my name is Gabriela Hernandez. I'm in third year studying global development studies in archaeology, and I am the chair of the representative body. So I oversee all the representatives from all the schools. Currently, there are 20 representatives, with 8 being elected in the fall, with a total number of representatives being around 30. So we work on both short-term and long-term projects. And this year, I'm personally very excited to address issues that face marginalized students on grounds, with also being very focused on how we can support students with COVID still being a really big issue. So some updates that I have for tonight are, I've been currently working with a couple of RAs over concerns over proper compensation, as well as concerns for like certain dorms being over policed due to like a high amount of students of color in that area. So we'll be working with those RAs and a couple of folks from HRL. We're also taking some steps tonight with FR 21-02 to address the bus situation. And lastly, I want to say to all the reps, tonight's representative meeting is canceled. We'll reschedule for a different time. So Ryan, pass it off.
Thank you, Gabby. Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Alcorn. I use he, him pronouns. I'm a Foreign Affairs BA and a Batten MPP with CC. I'm the Chief of Cabinet, which basically means I'm charged with executing the long-term policy agenda for Student Council. So 3 things that I'm very excited about. There are a lot to choose from, and I don't want to pick just one from the cabinet, but a couple of things that I'm working on personally. One is lobbying the state government to change a law that allows certain clubs at UVA to discriminate against protected classes. You probably have heard me talk about this in the past 12 months or so already, but I'm happy to talk about it more. We're looking to get buy-in from a couple of delegates and working with legal teams to see what the best avenue to take is. Very excited about that. Happy to talk about it more. Reach out. 2, Abel already talked about this, but UNOC, University Networks of Care. He already explained it very well, but basically getting instead of police officers showing up to nonviolent situations where they don't need to be, we'll be bringing in mental health professionals, crisis workers, to more appropriately handle the situation. And I've been inspired by the buy-in from various student groups and even from admin. So it's been very exciting. And then a third project that I'm excited about is Landlord Accountability. If you've ever lived off grounds, you know that it's typically very difficult to find a trustworthy landlord and someone who's going to be responsive to you. So community engagement is working on some very exciting opportunities to not only make housing affordable in Charlottesville, but also ensure that predatory lenders are held accountable. But I also wanted to talk a little bit about the work that we've done this summer. So since we established a team of 17 directors running 11 agencies, each director has put in like literally more than 100 hours, hundreds of hours preparing for a successful year. So already the cabinet has successfully brought more than 100 students back to grounds from Dulles Airport, registered first years to vote. Agencies are planning academic resource fairs and Arts Week, running drives for textbooks and Iclickers, helping UVA transition to sustainable utensils and cups while lobbying on several important issues such as divestment from fossil fuels, protecting students from discrimination, like I talked about earlier, landlord accountability, improving CAPS, which is counseling and psychological services funding, connecting with the Charlottesville City Council and Albemarle County Board of Supervisors, adding a prayer space to OHIL, and much more. And if anyone here is not currently in student council, if you're but interested in any of those projects or others, consider joining the cabinet. We'd love to have you. So thank you very much. I'll pass it off to Adrian.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Adrian Mamrell, and I am a current third year majoring in Commerce and Foreign Affairs. I am the new Chief of Support and Access Services as part of the new SAS branch. I oversee multiple programs that support UVA students' access to basic needs and more, such as UVA Mutual Aid, Airbus, and the Aetna Insurance Support Fund. So I'm going to start off with my 3 goals for this year. Just being thrown into this position, I am really enjoying it, and I am happy to really explain a lot of this and go into discussion about this even more. But in summary, I hope to increase the number of students that are aware and use our services. We've already seen a good amount of numbers from our textbook access office at the beginning of the year, as well as starting a long-term fundraising campaign that will eventually lead to the university adopting our services and expanding the number of services that we offer, while speaking to many stakeholders that we hope will take part in shaping the services that benefit them. So far this summer, we've worked with the Cabinet's International Student Affairs Agency, as well as the International Student Studies Office through an Airbus. We've welcomed many new students, graduate and undergraduate, to Charlottesville for the first time. I'm currently working on the Textbook Access Office to create a library of textbooks for low-income students alongside the Financial Accessibility Director, Logan Bowers. And we're hoping to as well process textbook reimbursements for multiple students. The form is still open for many people to apply for textbook requests, so I will drop the link later on. Also, to follow up what we've done this summer, my director for Accommodations Access Fund has met with SDAC and to determine the gap in what needs should be met by our Accommodations Access Fund, and we're hoping to fill up emergency copays for different things such as psych disabilities, as well as other important chronic disabilities as well as our student legal services, which hopes to increase awareness for housing and residence life staff, as well as our new first years, so that they are aware of legal assistance that is available to them. I just wanted to push out word regarding the SAS branch and applying to it. We are a new branch, so if you have any questions regarding what positions are available in the SAS branch, do not hesitate to contact me. I'll also drop my phone number in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer your questions or point you to the SAS branch directors. I'm going to pass it on to Booker.
Hey everyone, my name is Booker Johnson, and I use he, his pronouns, and I serve as the Director of Coalition Engagement. I'm from Richmond, Virginia, and I'm double majoring in English with a concentration in modern and global studies, as well as government. One of my top goals this upcoming semester are really what my job is to help build transparent and trustworthy relationships between student councils, CIOs, and the student body as a whole, as well as connecting these students groups with the resources that student council can offer them. Some of the policies that I'm really looking forward towards working on this upcoming year is the Bsa Demands Campaign, in which we've been partnering with BSA to work with some of the demands that have gone unmet for the past couple of decades at this point, actually. As well as partnering with a multitude of different historically marginalized groups towards their goals, which can range from anything from scholarships for descendants of enslaved laborers, more diverse food options in dining halls, and the hiring of more diverse faculty, so on and so forth. And for my third policy, I would say is working on institutional memory and anti-co-opting practices internally within Student Council, both recognizing the history of co-opting and harm that Student Council has caused in the past, but then also taking measures to make sure that we prevent that from happening again in the future. Some of my updates include we've been setting up a few co-sponsorships and also prepping that for the upcoming fall semester. And I'd also like to tell all of you to be on the lookout for some of the community events. I'll be in the upcoming newsletter this Thursday. And yeah, that's everything for me.
Thank you, Booker. I'm sorry to call you out. Guys, Booker was actually born in Italy and was a baby model in Italy. Very good fun fact. Okay. I'm filling in really quickly for Macy, who was our most recent Director of University Relations. We are starting a new Director of University Relations search. Macy has been incredible, led a rebranding effort, helped us revitalize a lot of our social media, put new types of graphics and information out to the student body and revamp our newsletter. But she is also in high demand in a lot of other areas of university life. So she's taking a step back this semester, and CC will be filling as DUR for now, but hopefully we'll have a new DUR appointment up very, very soon. On behalf of Macy, I'd like to call your attention to the new logo that she and our Director of Marketing, Michelle, spent a lot of time working on this summer. And CC did send a JPEG of that logo already. So yes, thank you, Macy. Thank you, Michelle. All good stuff. All right, so now we can move on to the next part of our meeting, leadership reports. Again, the order is Cabinet, Support and Access Services, Org, and Admin. So Ryan, take it away.
Thank you very much, Abel. We will start with Academic Affairs, and that will be Casey. And so I recommend requesting to unmute, and we'll find you. Hopefully very soon we will not be online anymore. Cool.
Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Sorry, it's not letting me turn my camera on. Hi, my name is Casey Gottlieb. I am a fourth year serving as Director of Academic Affairs, currently in the college as Foreign Affairs major and an accelerated MPP student with Ryan and Cece and a whole bunch of other people. So some things that we're working on right now is currently the annual Iclicker drive is going on. So if you have an Iclicker that you're not using or you know that you won't use it in the future, please consider donating it to Student Council. This is a great initiative to increase the accessibility of educational resources to low-income students. There is a lockbox located on the first floor of the PAC in Newcomb. So you can drop it off there, or you could Slack message me and I can come grab it. And also, I don't know, Abby from Arts wanted me to give an update for her. Should I just like do that really quickly?
Yeah, please do.
Abby couldn't make it today. She is Director of Arts, and she just wanted me to let you all know that she's hard at work on Arts Week, so be on the lookout for that.
Thank you, Casey. Next, we have an update from Community Engagement. So we've got two hands up. Perfect. There you go.
Hey guys, I'm Vivian. I'll just give a quick update on the first part. I use she, her pronouns. I'm co-director with Chloe. Service Scholar has started accepting hours, and a refresh on what that is this is a chance for students to get recognized for any volunteering they've done while at UVA. So even if you're a fourth year and you volunteered back in first year, please submit those hours so that we can get you some certificates and possibly cords if you reach the 300-hour limit at the end of your 4 years. So I'll go ahead and get Ryan to send the link out in the chat.
Sure thing. And I'll pass it off to Chloe next.
Hello, my name is Chloe Estrada, and I'm the other co-director of the Community Engagement Agency with Vivian. And for us, we have our volunteer tutoring initiative that is currently recruiting volunteers. This initiative, it's new as of this past spring, and what you would be doing as a tutor is providing free one-on-one tutoring sessions in K through 12 subjects for the children of UVA staff workers, like dining hall workers and custodial staff, things like that, as well as any graduate students who are parents. In terms of like numbers, I know that there's like already within just the graduate schools, there's like 800 graduate student parents. And so like that it can tell you about the magnitude of just the number of people that we can potentially serve here. And on the volunteer side, we're so happy that we already had like 350 or so volunteers interested, and we'd love to continue building that base. So if you are interested, we will be holding info sessions tomorrow and Thursday at 7 p.m. in Garrett Hall. And there's also going to be a Zoom link. If you sign up on our email list, which Cece will drop in the chat in just a second, we'll get all those details to you, and we would love to see you there. Just a little bit more on the initiative, like the tutors, it's a very flexible program because you get to know whether you want to tutor virtually or in person. You can choose what K through 12 subjects to teach, how often you'd like to tutor. And so we're really trying to make this service accessible to those children who need it, as well as the tutors who would like to serve. So yeah, if you have any questions, just let me know. And if you want to attend those info sessions, sign up on that email list that Cece put in the chat.
Cool. Thank you very much. All right, next, let's go to Iman with diversity engagement.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Sorry if there's a little background noise. So my name is Iman, and I'm the Director of Diversity Engagement, and I'm here to share that on September 1st, my agency will be providing diversity grants to multicultural CIOs on grounds in an effort to provide financial support to any initiatives or events that they would like to put on. And applications will close on October 1st at 11:59, and I'd really appreciate it if you could share this information with any multicultural CIOs that you're in, or if you know any. The information will be on the STEDCO website, but you can also reach out to me if you have any questions, and I would be more than happy to help.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Iman. Let's go next to financial accessibility. Take it away, Rachel.
Hello, I'm Rachel Heitman. I'm the co-director of financial accessibility with Logan Bowers. I know Adrian touched on it a little bit, but we're currently helping with the textbook access office and collecting textbooks to stock our bookshelves. So if you or anyone you know has old textbooks that you're not using anymore, or that you're just not getting able to sell on Facebook, maybe just drop them off with us instead. You can reach out to me or to Logan or to Adrian, really, if you have textbooks that you want to drop off. And the bookshelves for where textbooks go is in the SAC. So there's that.
Thank you very much, Rachel. This is a really exciting new project, and we're hoping to push back on the insanely high prices of textbooks through this effort. So highly recommend donating any textbooks that you have and are not using. Next, let's go to Avneet with Student Life. I will read out the Student Life update. So Student Life is looking forward to expanding free printing access, open housing options, and creating a meal kits program for this Thanksgiving break. 3 major projects. I read them off quickly, but they take quite a bit of effort, and Avneet's doing a wonderful job. We're also hoping to continue our work with UVA Dining and the Department of Parking and Transportation to ensure all university services are doing the most to meet the needs of students. And there is legislation up tonight about UTS and some of the issues that students have been facing. I think any of us that usually take the bus have been facing. I will go next to International Student Affairs. They've got a quick update.
Hi, hello everyone. My name is David Yang. I'm one of the co-director of International Student Affairs with Avni Garg. We just have a a quick update. So Visas is recruiting volunteers for their program. So basically they do English tutoring for international student scholars and exchange students. So they're looking for new volunteers as well as students who might want to improve their English and use their service as a program. So application is open from now until this next Monday, and I'll ask Ryan to drop the link in there. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks, David. All right, we've got two more quick updates, but there's a lot of important work and we're excited to share it out. So let's go next to Ayusha with sustainability.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ayusha. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm co-director of the Sustainability Agency alongside Molly, who unfortunately could not make it today. But under the Sustainability Agency, we're continuing our ongoing fight for divestment. And some exciting news, we're going to be attending UVMCO's Advisory Committee on Investor Responsibilities meeting in October, where we get to kind of make our case for fossil fuel divestment, which is already something they're actually looking at, which is pretty exciting news. Aside from that, we're pushing for paperless assignments to reduce paper waste, and even the process of recycling can cause a lot of ecological damage, which is why we're kind of hoping to have a push for online assignments this semester or the next. And lastly, we're also continuing to spread the message on, the elimination of single-use plastics. And one issue that we've kind of come to is the fact that while there are more compostable items on grounds, there's not many compostable bins for the compostable items to actually be collected in. So if you've seen a trash can but not seen a compostable bin next to it and have noticed that it's been a problem for you or someone else, please feel free to reach out to me or Molly. But that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayusha. And I will provide our last update for legislative affairs. Deontay and Bianca aren't able to make it, but they will be available to answer questions about what I'm about to say. So if you haven't done so already, be sure to register to vote or update your voter registration if you're able. We've got a number of important elections coming up in Virginia, including the gubernatorial race. So be sure to change your voter registration if your address has changed or if you've visited the DMV since the last election. The first day of in-person early voting at a local voter registration office is Friday, September 17th, so just over a couple of weeks. The deadline to register to vote or to update an existing registration is Tuesday, October 12th. And then the deadline to apply for a ballot to be mailed to you is Friday, October 22nd. So requests have to be received by the local voter registration office by 5 p.m. If you've got any questions about voter registration or interested in applying for the agency, please feel free to email the directors and I will drop their addresses below. But that is all from the cabinet for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. All right, Adrian, go ahead.
I'm going to only have one update, and it's from Rachel over at Uva Mutual Aid. Rachel, can you raise your hand so that you can update us?
Hello, me again. So from UVA Mutual Aid, we have two resource documents that I have put together, one of which has been shared with every single department chair in every single school at the university. So hopefully you'll start seeing some of this information in your syllabi or get emails from your departments. But one is just a kind of a quick rundown of the resources available in the SAS the SAS branch, and how you can utilize them or get in touch with the directors of those. And then the other is a much more substantive resource guide that I put together over the summer, broken up into different categories. So feel free to check that out and utilize it. Yeah.
Thank you,
please
Rachel.
share them. Please share them as well.
Yep, I just dropped the link in the chat for everybody to check out the available resources, but I think that's all of our updates. I'll pass it back to you, Abel.
Thank you. Just looking at that document, I will include the SAS resources document in our newsletter. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Rachel. All right, Ryan Szykowski, your directors are welcome to share any updates they might have.
Actually, I think I kind of covered most everything in my intro speech. I just actually have two things I'd like to add, though. The CIO printing, just to clarify on that, I sent out an email to CIOs today, but free CIO printing is at the information desk, the first floor information desk in Newcomb Hall. I think previously it was in the SAC, but just to be clear, it has been moved. And I think the SAF guidelines say the SAC as well. I would just disregard that, and we'll change that as soon as we can. But it's information desk of Newcomb Hall. Yeah, and that's all we have.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan. Okay. CC, do you have any admin updates or any directors have updates you'd like to share?
Yeah, I kind of also covered it in my update, but the link to our application, which closes on the 7th, is in the chat, and as well as the link to our new logo. So thank you to Whit and Issa and Michelle for working on both of those things. And then the last thing that I wanted to share was that, because I've gotten a couple questions, we don't have like attendance form today, but we're going to pull the list from the participants list after the GenBod meeting. So we will sign you up if you're here today. We got your attendance point.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Gabby, rep reports, take it away.
Reps, if you have any thing you'd like to talk about, please raise your hand and I will unmute you. No, okay. No rep reports for us today.
No problem. Reps, since you're here, I just wanted to mention that even though Gabby graciously canceled the rep meeting tonight because I'm not feeling very well, I wanted to come and talk to you all about some of the projects that we're working on, the rest of STUDCO, to see if you'd like to get involved on the legislative side or lobbying side. So, definitely stay tuned, and I'm looking forward to that meeting with you all. Okay, so Gabby, we actually do not have any public comments for our incredibly controversial list of legislation for this evening. It's a joke, it's not controversial. So you can start leg session.
Okay, we will now enter legislative session. I will begin by calling roll. When I call your name, please raise your hand. Violet Cadet. Thank you. Nina Santana. Thank you. Lillian Rojas. Thank you. Laura Arif. Thank you. Tyler Bush. Thank you. Deshara Robertson. Thank you. Christian Ephraim. Thank you. Ella Tinch. Thank you. Jay Moody. Thank you. Rithika Kormath Anand. Sarah Kirk. Joshua Franklin. Rand Perry. Alex Sheng. Jason Evans. Oh, Rand Perry. Thank you. 1 second. Jason Evans. Thank you. Isa Fortuno. Thank you. Elizabeth Cruz. Thank you. And Raphael Movsesian. Thank you so much. I'll begin by, the roll has been called. I'll begin by entertaining the minutes from our last special session. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns about the minutes? I would look favorably upon a motion to vote. Laura?
Motion to vote on the minutes.
Thank you. Ella?
Seconded.
Are there any objections? If you have an objection, please raise your hand. Seeing none, the minutes pass. I would now look favorably upon a motion to take SB 21-43 off the table. Ella?
Motion to take the bill off the table.
Thank you.
Can I get a second? Jason?
Seconded.
Thank you. Are there any objections? If you have an objection, please raise your hand. Seeing none, the motion carries. SB 21-43 is moved off the table. I will now entertain SB 21-43, a bill to approve an executive board discretionary allocation, and I'll entertain able to speak on this legislation.
Thank you, Gabby. Reps, it's nice to see you moving the session along so smoothly. It'll be a lot more fun when we're in person because there are some motions you can make without raising your hands. You can just interrupt each other. It's really fun. All right. So this bill moves to allocate an additional $1,500 to executive board discretionary spending from student council's own private funding. This will be used for emergency mutual aid. I gave everybody a chance to reach out to me if they had additional questions. I did hear from a couple of you. Hopefully my clarifications helped, but it is sensitive, so I prefer not to say more. Please, just trust that the executive board feels that this mutual aid request is urgent enough that we need to put our own private funding towards it immediately. And I do think that that is in line with the ethic of this administration, which is definitely one of direct resource provision and radical care wherever possible. So, if you have any questions, happy to answer them. But otherwise, I hope you approve this discretionary spending allocation.
Thank you, Abel. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns about this bill? If you have any, please raise your hand. Jason?
I motion that we vote.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Tashara?
Second.
We will now vote on this bill. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Please put your hands down. All of those opposed, please raise your hands. And all of those abstaining. Thank you. SB 21-43 passes with 15 yeas. I will now entertain FB 21-01, a bill to approve an appointment to the President's Support and Access Services, and I'll entertain able to speak on this legislation.
Thank you, Gabby. Rachel Heitman has served as the director of UVA Mutual Aid since about April 2020, and she has done an incredible job to date. Mutual Aid has distributed roughly $100,000 to roughly 1,000 students, and in addition to that, has in times of extraordinary need also raised larger sums of private funding for students with mutual aid need. And in the beginning, Rachel also helped coordinate in-kind resource distribution, whether that was transportation or storage, housing for students at the outset of the COVID-19 pandemic. So if everyone could use your little reaction button and give Rachel a hand of applause, she's done an amazing job. But as you heard earlier this evening, Rachel is transitioning to the Financial Accessibility Agency to focus more on the root causes of a lot of these persistent inequities and failures in UVA's ability to meet students' essential needs. So we are appointing a new director to UVA Mutual Aid, and I truly cannot think of a better person to take on the job than Sarandon Elliott. Sarandon Elliott recently served as the chair of UVA's YDSA chapter. She is a brilliant organizer as well, and UVA's YDSA ran one of the largest mutual aid campaigns at UVA outside of UVA Mutual Aid. And what I so appreciate about Sarandon's efforts is that YDSA's mutual aid did focus on in-kind resource provision and distribution. So this year, in addition to continuing our $100 no strings attached grants, we do hope to expand into some sort of free store or free swap on a regular basis, and Sarandon's background will help with that effort. She is also particularly skilled in galvanizing and motivating large groups of people and collectives behind a common goal towards, liberation and equity. So she, I think, will do a really good job also bringing in those smaller piecemeal donations to sustain a mutual aid collective over time. So thank you to Rachel. Thank you to Sarandon for stepping up to fill in as the new director of UVA Mutual Aid. Cece, Ella, Rand, I know you all have worked with Sarandon as well, so please feel free to say anything, but otherwise I hope you all pass this appointment with flying colors.
Thank you, Abel. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns about this bill? Ella?
I just wanted to quickly speak to Sarandon's capabilities and brilliance. She's very, very good at energizing people and in getting people on board and connecting people to the cause that they're working on. So I'm sure everybody will, but this is a great appointment and I'm very excited.
Are there any other comments, questions, or concerns about this bill? Seeing none, I will look favorably upon a motion to vote. Jason?
Motion to vote.
Thank you. Laura?
Seconded.
Thank you. We will now vote on this bill. All of those in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Please put your hands down. All of those opposed, please raise your hands. And all those abstaining. Thank you. FB 21-01 passes with 15 yeas. I will now entertain FR 21-02, a resolution calling for immediate reforms to UTS routes and wages, and I'll entertain Able to speak on this legislation.
Thank you, Gabby. As I am sure you are all aware, UTS, or the University Transit Service, has changed the bus routes on grounds. While some of these changes were made due to COVID-19, in particular changes around the capacity of buses to enforce, federally regulated passenger limits, so on and so forth, there were a few decisions that were actually made at the university level that I would like to see reversed immediately, and certainly would like to see these changes not persist into the future. In particular, the university cut the Monroe and Garrett Hall UTS stop on McCormick Road. This is the bus stop that students use to access most of their courses in academic buildings, McCormick Road being arguably the main and most central road for UVA students, as well as this Monroe Garrett Hall UTS stop area being known as the historic Black bus stop, which, as you can see from the two magazine articles I linked on the legislation, is a site of deep cultural and personal significance for the Black student and alumni community at UVA. So this change presents both an accessibility issue for students in terms of practically getting to their courses, as well as a larger issue around the erasure of a significant part of Black student history at the university, which is already not commemorated as well as it should be by the institution of the University of Virginia. So what I would like to see UTS do is, one, increase their fleet size so we can manage the bus capacity and loading limits while still servicing the most popular busing stop being, the Monroe Garrett Hall stops. Two, increase student driver UTS and full-time UTS driver wages. So more students and community members apply to these positions so we can meet the increased employment demand that would be necessary to staff this, larger fleet. And then third, I would like to see the university not cut this McCormick Road stop after the COVID-19 pandemic restrictions are lifted, which is what the university hopes to do now. And then finally, I would like to see the university commemorate the Black bus stop with a historical marker. And again, I urge the university to reconsider its removal. I do include a little bit of context on the COVID-19 related restrictions in Appendix A from Rebecca White, who is one of the directors of UTS under UVA Parking and Transportation. I think this is a fairly straightforward resolution, but if anyone has any questions about the mechanics of the solution that I've proposed or lobbying next steps, please just let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Abel. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns on this resolution? I believe it's only representatives at the moment. Ella.
I just wanted to speak quickly in support of the resolution. One of the reasons that the university gave for canceling bus service during the day or before 6 p.m. to McCormick Road was pedestrian concerns, but cars are still allowed. So if it was actually because of pedestrian concerns, and arguably people driving cars are way less attentive than the bus drivers that we hire for UTS, then I would think that they would have closed off to cars, but then the university would be able to wouldn't be able to make as much money off of parking passes for like the lot by Brown behind, I think it's Kirchhoff Hall and Halsey Hall, and all along that road. So it's pretty clear that the pedestrian concerns element is not a very compelling argument. So I'd urge everybody to, number one, vote for this resolution, but also contact the administration and talk to your other students about it, because this is affecting a lot of people, especially those who don't live super close to grounds.
Thank you, Ella. Are there any other comments, questions, or concerns? Violet.
Hi, y'all. So I know another major concern with this resolution is that UTS literally doesn't have enough drivers for the buses. And I know we're talking about supporting a wage increase. I just want to know, is there anything else we can do? From what my understanding is, they're like short a third of what the normal before COVID bus driver kind of employee amount, I don't know what you would word that, was. So is there anything else we think we should do and add to this resolution, or is it just promoting a wage increase? Because I don't know necessarily if that's enough considering what minimum wage in Virginia is currently.
Abel?
I went with advocating for a wage increase because it's, the most straightforward and orthodox, benefit increase that I could think of. But if we are targeting student drivers, I can, off the top of my head, think of a lot of different perks that we might be able to offer to incentivize students to to apply for these positions. So I am open to amendments to the resolution around not just increasing wages, but perhaps also offering some sort of dining services, like some sort of meal plan subsidy. I'm not sure if parking passes would be relevant, but it would seem, somewhat fitting given the department we're talking about is transportation. And I think the main point, though, is that minimum wage in Virginia is far too low. And so increasing the wages around the UTS jobs is probably the first step in the right direction there. But by how much we'd have to increase those wages is probably the more complicated question that would actually determine whether or not people are interested in taking those jobs.
Thank you, Abel. Ella?
One thing that would be worth considering, and I don't know if this is something that the university has jurisdiction over, but I know student bus drivers are required to submit to drug testing before they are hired. So I think if we could work with a university to waive that, because honestly, like whether or not what somebody chooses to do when they're not on the job will not really affect their job performance. So if we could talk to whoever's in charge of that and possibly get that waived, I think that would get a lot more students interested in the bus driver position. And I also think like it is worth considering, maybe that's, I don't know, I'm rambling now, but I don't know if that's like a Virginia mandated thing. Figuring that out, waiving it, I think would be helpful.
Are there any other comments, questions, or concerns on this resolution? Okay, seeing none, I will look favorably.
Sorry, Gabby, my hand's up.
Sorry, it's kind of blocked by the little thing. You, Abel.
No, that's okay. I'm just not able to use the raise hand function as a co-host. I would like to propose an amendment to FR 21-02. On the second resolved clause, I would like the clause to basically read, the Student Council representative body urges UTS to increase the wages of UTS drivers to incentivize more students to apply for student driver positions, period. The representative body further calls on UTS to investigate the possibility of eliminating drug test associated eligibility for the student driving or driver position. If anyone has clearer language, I'm going to type that up really quickly. But once I do, I'll raise my hand again and move to amend the legislation as read. Whoops. Okay, 1 minute. I'm not sure that posted correctly. No, it essentially does. All right. So to reiterate, I move to amend FR 21-02. The amendment is as follows. On the second resolve clause, I move that the amendment now read, resolved, the Student Council representative body urges UTS to increase the wages of UTS drivers to incentivize more students to apply for student driver positions. The representative body further calls on UTS to investigate removing any drug test associated eligibility requirements for students to fill student driver positions. And be it further, end clause. Do I have a second?
Is there a second? Ella?
I second.
Thank you. The proposed amendment is in the chat. Are there any objections to the amendment? If you have an objection, please raise your hand. Okay, Jason?
So the second sentence in this clause, I am particularly sympathetic if it comes to students maybe engaging in recreational drugs like weed or something like that. But my fear is that by urging, I would prefer the investigation of the viability or the merit of any drug testing associated eligibility requirements rather than removal, because I think that's a little bit too broad. Unless we as a body can produce evidence that would challenge any reason that UTS would continue to have this policy. Like if you want to say remove this policy, then we have to say, well, here's the evidence to suggest this policy is no longer warranted, i.e., here you go. That is my only concern. Abel, can you speak to that?
Thank you. I'll let Abel respond to that, and then I'll call on you, Raphael.
I understand that concern, which is why I said investigate rather than, call to remove. But I'd be open to changing the amendment to calls on UTS to investigate the efficacy of any drug test associated eligibility requirements for students to fill student driver positions, implying that, there is some level of investigation to be done, but I'd also like to hear from Ella. So I'm going to yield the rest of my response time to Ella to hear what she thinks about that proposed change.
Thank you, Abel. I'm going to call on Raphael, and then I'll call on Ella real quick.
Oh, sorry. Actually, how many?
No, you're fine. Okay, Ella, I'll let you speak.
I definitely understand your concerns, Jason. I can't think of any scenario where drug testing would be particularly helpful. And I think from talking to other students, I have several friends who have said, yeah, I really wanted to do this job, but there's a drug testing requirement. And I think we're seeing a shift in our culture in general towards not drug testing anymore. Because I think, number one, marijuana is now legal in Virginia to some extent. So it's still greatly limited, but a lot of our students are older than 21. So if we're not testing for alcohol use, why are we testing for other legal recreational substance use? And typically when they do drug testing, it's usually for marijuana. There's tons of drugs that we wouldn't catch in a typical drug test. Arguably, it would be worse if somebody was on a lot of pills of some sort while they were driving a bus versus smoke weed at home. So I just think I think it's important for us to take a very hard line, just this requirement needs to end. It's antiquated. And I think that it is a barrier to students. If we wanted to, we could send out a survey and ask students, are drug testing requirements a barrier to you applying to certain jobs? But I think that would take too much time. We have a shortage right now. This is a easy way, if they're able to remove this requirement, to get more students to apply.
Thank you, Ella. Raphael?
Yeah, so I just wanted to point out, I did some searching. It seems like the laws on the drug testing, they're regulated by federal law. It's this Omnibus Transportation Employee Testing Act of 1991. So it seems like even if we do pass a resolution, we can't really change much because it's going to be by federal law. But also, I think advertising the student positions a lot better would be beneficial, because I, for example, didn't know that student drivers positions were a thing. And so when I read about that in the email, I actually applied for the driver position. So I'll be interviewing pretty soon. And yeah, if you see me driving your bus, say hi. But yeah, I think just promoting the positions would be one of the steps we can take to increase the student driver positions. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Raphael. Violet?
Yeah, I really agree with Raphael. I was thinking even if we amended the statement to include not only increasing the wages of UTS drivers to incentivize more students, but also like promoting this thing, because I only knew about this problem through like my bosses who work for the school, but I definitely think promotion is a big aspect. And I also agree with Raphael's point, not only on the federal level, but I would assume with my very limited insurance information process, because I'm 19, but also I would assume it's an insurance liability on behalf of the university, not having that incoming drug test. So I think for now, we maybe don't include it in the legislation and maybe try to work on it or look into it this week and see what is the real cause. But I think I agree this is kind of an urgent problem to just pass the resolution about wages and saying that the black bus stuff is really important to us and look back more on the drug aspect and get some time to just at least gather a little bit of information.
Thank you, Violet. Abel?
Thank you for that catch, Raphael, and Violet. That's a great point. I think that new information, though, only makes the second amendment suggestion, the one I read back to Jason, again, more relevant, because this second amendment is not necessarily calling for a removal that would not be up to UTS to facilitate, but rather asks UTS to investigate the efficacy of drug tests that they must carry out. So I think that's still a relevant critique and ask for us to make of UTS, even if the scope of the drug test policy is not, directly under UVA's jurisdiction. And then I'm trying to quickly write in increasing advertising. So just give me 30 seconds. Okay. I'm not going to motion for this amendment to be approved. I'm just going to read it, and then should anyone else feel that it's an appropriate amendment, feel free to motion. If you'd like to change it more, you can do that as well. Resolved, the Student Council representative body urges UTS to increase advertising around UTS bus driver employment vacancies and the wages of UTS drivers to incentivize more students to apply for student driver positions. The representative body further calls on UTS to investigate the efficacy of any drug test associated eligibility requirements for students to fill student driver positions.
Jason?
Yeah, so first, thank you, Raphael and Violet, for pointing that out. And then second, with this updated amendment, I motioned that we approve this amendment to the resolution.
Okay, can I get a second? I'll take that as a motion to amend. Can I get a second for the amendment? Jay?
Seconded.
Thank you. Sorry, the proposed amendment is in the chat. Are there any objections? If you have an objection, please raise your hand. Okay, seeing none, the motion carries and the amendment passes. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns about this resolution? Seeing none, I will look favorably upon a motion to vote. Jason?
Motion to vote.
Thank you. Is there a second? Christian?
Second.
Thank you. We will now vote on this resolution. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Please put your hands down. All of those opposed, please raise your hands. And all those abstaining. FR 21-02 passes with 13 yeas. I will now read the vote count from the current session. SB 21-43 passed with 15 yeas, 0 nays, and 0 abstentions. FB 21-01 passed with 14 yeas, 0 nays, and 0 abstentions. FR 21-02 passed with 13 yeas, 0 nays, and 0 abstentions. We will now exit legislative session.
Thank you, Gabby. And thank you, reps, for participating in that conversation. I'm hopeful that we'll have more, engaged less sessions once we're in person, and learn the ins and outs of Robert's rules together, which is a personal passion of mine. Not really. Anyways, now we will move into community concerns. I just want to, reiterate what I mentioned at the beginning of GenBod, which is that first, there is asymptomatic testing available to all students via that BSafe UVA time to test link. I will send that again. And then second, I've really heard from dozens and dozens of students about this Aetna insurance grant issue, and we are on it. You should hear from SFS soon. Again, if you are uninsured and low income, i.e. on the Pell Grant, you will have an insurance grant to cover your Aetna insurance, or if you are on out-of-state Medicaid, which does not transfer to Virginia, you will also have your Aetna insurance paid for. Okay, any community concerns that have popped up since we've last met? Lillian.
Yes, hi. So one of my close friends is a third year, and she actually was diagnosed with COVID last week. And it has been an absolute pain for her when it comes to talking to her professors and figuring out her accommodations. I know that from what she's told me, it's every professor is telling her something different. Two of her professors flat out told her that they are refusing to record the class for her. And one of them that said that they're refusing to record it said, I'm only gonna do it on Zoom if you can find someone who's gonna record it for you. And then instead of like extending out an offer to her of maybe coming to office hours or sitting down with her, he told her to find a friend to get notes from. So I know in that experience for her, she has felt like that professor particularly just kind of said, like, it is what it is, you're not going to be here, and didn't seem to care. And then for the other professor that told her that she could only do Zoom for a guest speaker, my friend made it seem like the professor explained that that was a departmental decision and not her decision. So I don't really know about that. And then, but the professor did, though, reach out to her and say that I'm happy to meet you one-on-one. And then I know for one of her discussions, she did have a TA tell her that, well, since you can't participate, there's no point of me even setting up a Zoom. So don't even bother, just miss it. And it's what it is. So I was just wondering, based on that experience, if you've heard anything more about what's being asked of these professors, because it seems like from what I've heard from her that they really are allowed to treat it as just a random day of you not coming to class, and it is what it is, deal with it.
Yeah, that is currently the guidance. There's no standardized guidance that's been handed down from the provost, but a few reps did put up a resolution that I helped co-sponsor to push for a virtual class option. I brought that up in a meeting with some folks from the provost office, but this will serve as, or this, now we'll double down on this. So Ryan Alcorn, let's work with Casey, and then Rand, and I think Rathika was the other rep who was on this resolution, to follow up with some folks from Provost McGill's office. One solution I'm thinking of off the top of my head, and I really don't know how viable this is that one SDAC accommodation students have is that you are allowed to record courses with audio recording devices. So if we were able to standardize that solution across the board, that might be easier than some sort of like standardized Zoom hybrid option. So I think there's definitely something that can be done in the immediate term. It's just gonna be a matter of getting it to be passed down from a central body like the provost office, which is always the hard part. But thanks for bringing it up and helping us reprioritize that virtual course option as an option. Yeah, and then Rachel just pinged me. Thank you, Rachel. That there is also always the SDAC note-taking option. So many courses, I'd say most courses at UVA have a student in SDAC in the course. And so there is like a bank of notes that's created as part of some students' accommodation. So maybe we could see if we could have COVID included in, or students with COVID included in that group of students who might be able to access the notes, but it's usually on an individual semester-long basis. So yeah, well, I mean, we'll see, but thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, no, the provost has not issued any protocols or guidelines, to be very, very clear. It's every professor is allowed to make up their own policy. But I did bring it up among a few other COVID measures, and seems like there's been limited planning around that for now. But we will, we'll get on that. Thank you, Lillian. So outside of Rand and Rathika, are there any other reps who would be interested in helping us take this on? Us being Ryan Alcorn, Casey from Academic Affairs, and then I will help where I can. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, thank you. I just got a ping, Ryan. Let's see. All right, perfect. So we have a lot of reps jumping in. We love to see it. Ryan, will you make a group chat with the 7 of us?
Already on it.
Perfect. Do you have the numbers of the 2 reps who I just pinged you about?
I have the Slacks and I can pull the numbers.
Awesome. Okay. Anything else? Also, in the vein of COVID, there is quarantine housing for students who live on grounds. That information is coming out slowly, and I know that HRL is still finalizing their guidelines around what to do around exposures and testing and quarantine. But as soon as I have any information about that, I mean, I'll share it with you all and really the whole school. But yes. Thank you. Okay. Well, yeah, I guess buses, COVID, Aetna, it's a lot of concerns. So that's plenty for now. Thank you. Okay, having a great first week. Hopefully tests come back negative and we'll be able to see each other in person next week with masks on. But have a good one.
Reminder to the reps, no rep meeting